Now, did you know our nervous system has a natural rhythm that allows us to cope with the ups and downs of life? So when we experience a distressing or threatening event, our body and mind go into this alert phase. We experience fear. Now, the body's alert system causes our heart rate to speed up and our breathing become faster and shallower. And this amping up of our nervous system happens without thinking. And when we are in danger, it helps us run away or fight. That is good news for us, as this wiring allows us to survive. But if the perceived threat and danger lasts for too long, your body may run on adrenaline for far too long, and then it can crash, and you might feel numb or depressed and exhausted. Now, while stress can be a healthy way to move us to action, the only good stress is short-term stress. Chronic stress, on the other hand, can lead to a myriad of physical and psychological symptoms that can have a long-term impact on our well-being. And another problem with chronic stress, it leads to chronic anxiety, which is this constant state of unease in the face of imagined or anticipated threats. And this can lead to emotional reactivity, which isn't good for us or our relationships or our faith journey. Now, when we think the stress is outside of us, being caused by others and circumstances, we feel perpetually powerless. Now, I'm not saying we don't undergo tremendously stressful situations or face dysfunctional behavior in others that impact us greatly. But what I am saying is there's a difference between what happens out there and what happens in here. Because stress is our internal emotional response. And that's what's causing us distress, not the stressor or the external situation. Stress is our body and mind's response to the external stressor. And it's the stress that harms us, not the stressor. Now, emotions at their most basic level involve the release of neurochemicals in the brain in response to some stimulus. A situation happens to us, our brain releases a bunch of chemicals, which triggers a cascade of physiological changes. And just about every system in our body responds to the chemical and electrical cascade activated by the situational trigger. That's emotion, and it's automatic and instantaneous. It happens everywhere, affects everything and everyone, and it's happening all the time. Now, when we experience stressors in our life, we need to instruct our bodies that we are safe. We need to focus on what we have control over, which is our internal responsibilities to external realities. Otherwise, we'll stay in a state of stress, which can then become chronic. Remember, it's our behavioral response, not the removal of the stressor, that tells our body that we're safe. Our response can release calming, happy hormones that help us regulate our reactions. But we have to do something to signal to our body that we're safe. Otherwise, our body stays riled up. Our body needs the body language to help us complete the stress cycle, which then tells our body that we're safe. That is one of the most powerful things about praying when we're afraid. The very act of releasing our fears to God, or doing breath prayers where we breathe out our fears and breathe in His reassurances, actually releases serotonin in our brains, which helps to calm us. Acknowledging our fears and facing them, it's hard work. We may be unaware of when we feel afraid, especially when we're used to suppressing our emotions, and how fear can unconsciously drive us. Or our fears may seem all-consuming and impossible to overcome, and avoidance is a very common response. But God has designed our bodies and our minds with the very antidotes to facing our fears through a combination of scientifically proven strategy. Now, God says in Philippians 4:6-8 in the NIV version, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." So right there, that's the answer. Number one, think positive, hopeful thoughts. Number two, cultivate an attitude of gratitude. And number three, let go and give to God all the things over which we have no control. Remember, getting help and doing the work to face our fears doesn't mean we aren't trusting God. It It means that we're willing to journey with God and to do the hard work of changing our thought patterns and behaviors that can change our experience of joy and freedom and faith.